Alright, so here's another example of just God at work in amazing situations. Have a good friend, high school friend named Rocco. He and Luis, his best friend, both came to Christ at winter camp in February, and both of them were just they were just beautiful stories of God, touching and moving and drawing. And Luis had some struggles with alcohol and just an off lifestyle that potentially caused him some harm, would have, if he continued down that road. And somebody invited him out to Young Life, and he and Rocco just had a great time from the get-go. But they both came to Christ on the same weekend, and just really precious. Both of them stood up, a month later, and not even 2 weeks later, and told their story at the prayer vigil about how they gave their lives to Christ. And both of them were weeping, and just powerful stuff. I love those guys. So a couple months later, Rocco lives, in humble circumstances. Has a wonderful mom that works hard to provide. Dad's not really in the picture, and so mom does a great job, trying to provide there. And yet at times, they struggle. There's times when the water will be shut off, or some utilities might not be on because they happen to not be able to pay the bills. And there's no shame in that. They've just gone through some tough times here and there. Good people. But one night I got a call from one of the leaders, Rube, and he just said, "Hey man, is there something we can do? I know Rocco hasn't, eaten solid meals for a little while, and I just feel for him." So I just said, "Look, why don't you call people at True North? I'm about to go pick up Ellie." It was a Wednesday night. I'm about to pick up Ellie at my church, at her youth group, her middle school youth group. I'll ask the youth pastor. Let's just pray and see what God does, So Rube called True North, people at True North, great church, and I talked with the youth pastor, Jason Tyrell, and he said, "Look, hey, the church board is meeting right now. Why don't you go over to Jeff Crispin's house, and we have a pantry there, and if there's any food, you can have at it." So I went over there and interrupted the board meeting, and Ellie and I walked in, and I just said, "Look, we have a kid that I love to death, that I would just really love to bless if we're able to. Is the church in a position to help out a new brother in Christ and to show the love of Christ to his mom?" And the guys at Joy, they didn't bat an eye. I mean, we love the people at our church, just really good people who love the Lord and love people. And the board said, Jeff Crispin popped up and said, "Hey, follow me, let's go." So we went in the back, and he said, "I'm really sorry, it's a little ticked over, it's at the end of the month, just do what you can, take what you want, and we'll pray for Rocco and his mom." So we put together a couple boxes of stuff. Meanwhile, Rube is picking up Rocco's best friend Luis and trying to figure out some food on their end, and talk with people at True North. And when I came back out to the board meeting, from being back at the pantry getting food, they'd taken up a collection of money as well. And just beautiful how the Lord provides through his people. And so they said, "God bless, hope it goes well, please let us know what we can do." So Rube and Luis, they came over to my house, picked up the food, picked up the cash, went shopping for Rocco, and were thrilled to take that over at 10:30 that Wednesday night. And they were greeted at the door by Rocco, who immediately burst into tears when Luis and Rube busted in with a ton of groceries that they purchased and also got from the church. And just a beautiful moment where, Rube said, you know what, their pantry was pretty cleaned out, and their fridge, not a whole lot going on there, and it's just a tough time. But you know what God said? Philippians 4:19, my God shall supply all my needs according to His riches and glory, not our deficiency on earth, not what we don't have, but what He does have. And that doesn't mean that He'll give us everything we want, but that means that as we follow Him, as we to the best of our knowledge and ability, give God room to work in our lives by faith and say, Lord, take what I got, take all that I am, and do with it as you please. God provides for His own. And Rocco experienced a miracle prayer. In fact, he said later on, as he was standing in front of 50 of his peers at Young Life, sharing this story of how God provided, he said, I was praying that God would provide when the doorbell rang. And so that's yet more evidence that demands our respect and our attention. I mean, it just does. It just merits our attention and our praise, because God provides and He moves. And again, for the one who's looking for it, the hand of God is more than evident. And so yeah, Rocco stood up that night in front of Young Life. There's probably 50 kids there in this basement, and he said, in February, God saved me, and 2 weeks ago, God provided for me when I was at the greatest point of my need, and He'll do the same for you. So just more evidence of God moving. Pretty awesome.